Welcome back to episode number 4 of Off the Rip with your host, Dylan Tarmey. Round of applause. Today, I want to talk about some things, and as per usual, I'm just going to talk about those things, and it's up to you if you want to listen/watch me. Momentum. Lately, with work and with my own life outside of work, because I do have one of those, it feels like momentum is this slippery substance or slippery sensation that if you do not hold on to it, it will act against you. And I don't know if there's any science to this. Perhaps in the next episode, I'll come back and I'll have researched something and be able to talk about it more fluently, or maybe even be able to reference some studies or some concepts that people have thought about and have provided proof for. Right now, I'm speaking from a very conceptual basis about the act and the, I suppose, like feeling and sensation of momentum. If you're doing something that's quite difficult and you do it the first time is traditionally the hardest time. What I actually find is it's the smaller pieces involved in making it a consistency. So like the small habits that you have to pick up to ensure that the hard thing is something that you can do on a regular basis. Like whether it's doing a cold plunge every day, sometimes the hardest part is actually going outside to the cold plunge. It's not actually getting into it. Or maybe it's actually getting into the cold plunge. It's not actually enduring the cold plunge. So all of these little things make building and like thriving inside of a momentum a lot more difficult. I don't know if that's by design, and that's just human nature that we fixate on the small things and not always the bigger ones. But to use the ice bath analogy again, like when you get into that ice bath at first, that shock hits you. You just forced yourself to get into it. And then after like a minute, if you can regulate your breathing and you can accept the fact that you're here for a committed amount of time, it's easy. For me, I find the same if it's going for a run. Sometimes the hardest part for me to actually go for a run is like stepping out the door and doing it. The run itself is normally difficult for the first like 5 minutes, and then it's fine. Then you're into a rhythm, and then you start to actually feel good, and it becomes easier. And that's like momentum on a small scale. So you start the run, the momentum is at its lowest peak, and then by the time you're, say, 25%, 50% into your run or into whatever task you're referencing here, it becomes a lot easier. And you almost have this sensation of being pulled towards the end goal. At least I do. And it's the same with work. Sometimes the hardest task is actually just opening the SD. Sometimes it's literally organizing the footage is the task that will stop me from editing the videos or sending them over to the team. So I think I'm fixated on the idea of momentum at the moment because I'm aware of, it's such a powerful tool, yet it's so difficult sometimes to actually grasp and hold on to. But if you get that momentum, keeping it is such a key, because once you have that momentum, as I said in the run analogy, you're being pulled towards that objective. You're being pulled towards your end goal, and it feels almost effortless. It's like you enter into these flow zones on a little bit more, or flow states, I should say, on a little bit more of a regular basis. The momentum that I'm really trying to generate right now in my own life is creating content, is sitting down in front of the camera, talking like this, planning the episodes beforehand, focusing on the right things that I want to talk about. But for me, the most difficult part of keeping the momentum is actually pressing post. Like, I'm on episode 4 of Off the Rip right now, and I haven't even released the first one. It's scheduled to go out this Thursday, which is like, I don't know, April the 17th. So it's scheduled to go out on April the 17th. I'm sitting here on April the 15th, and I haven't released a single episode, which for me is obvious that there's an issue somewhere. Like my plan from the get-go was to create a little bit of a backlog, so I had something that I could, lean into and feel, okay, if I miss one episode, it's all right. I have at least another 2, because I'm so afraid of failing on a consistency basis, because I know that that's where the reward is, and I know that that's where the truth is. If you can't do something consistently, you can't really do it, Like anyone can probably run a marathon, but if you can't run marathons, maybe you're not a marathon runner. I ran a marathon. I wouldn't classify myself as a marathon runner. To be able to do something on a consistent basis is the hard part. And that's the part that I want to make sure I nail. Yet the smallest thing that's stopping me from getting the ball rolling is actually just posting the episode. Like, I think I recorded the first episode of Off the Rip like a week before my birthday, which was like the end of February. So that was 2 months ago almost now. And I still haven't posted one, which is ridiculous. Only last week I posted the launch video for Fractured Vibe. Well, not launch video, but kind of just like a rebirth and just let people know we're still here and we're doing pretty kick-ass things and getting bigger. But that video itself took the longest time to make, between actually sitting down, recording the video, and then recording a version that I was happy with. You know, like, you see the final product of a video, and I know because I work in video and content creation, you always see the final product on socials or on the delivery platform. But the reality of that video was me sitting in front of the camera in a similar setting to what I have right now. The lights were better, but I must have recorded for like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours of me just repeating the same lines over and over and over again until I got my cadence and I got the flow. And then you're piecing together this video to make it feel really organic when it's not. And that's hard, but it's okay. Like, I think that's how these things have to be. You know, like, that video was intended to be close to perfect as we could get it right now. And I think we did a really fucking good job. So shout out to Claudio if you're watching this, buddy, because you fucking killed it. Which is even funny for me to be able to say that because, you know, a year ago, there was no one else here. It was just lonely old me. So talking about momentum, bringing it back, the right thing is oftentimes the scary thing. And I want to give context to the majority of the topics that I talk about on this podcast are not going to be things like, you know, the scariest thing being robbing a bank. They're going to be related to self-improvement. So if you're thinking that the scariest thing you could do is rob a bank and you're listening to me saying that's the right thing to do, just know that that's not what I'm saying. Big disclaimer. That's not at all my intention. The right thing to do in a self-improvement context is generally the hardest. And when I say self-improvement, that is a broad topic. For me, self-improvement a lot of the times is fitness goals, you know, like mindfulness goals, like being aware and being focused on myself and being present. And also, obviously, business is a big one for me. For you, it might just be college. And I don't say might just be to belittle it. That sounded really belittling. I just chose the wrong words in that sentence, and I apologize if anyone was offended. I don't apologize. Fuck you if you were offended. That's ridiculous. The right thing is oftentimes the scariest thing. And I think that's why, again, momentum is difficult. Because if you do the scary thing time after time after time, you will notice the momentum beginning to build. However, doing the scary thing is hard. And it's super difficult. And that's the sign that you should do it. Like, to put that into a story from my own existence, I think it was 2021 when I finished up working with Peblo, who had become a fintech startup for content creators. Great fucking company, great team, but I just didn't fit in there. Personally, I just felt like I wasn't growing and I wasn't happy in the role that I was in. It was nothing to do with the wider company, but I felt like I had to leave because I knew that I wanted to start what I'm doing right now. And that was a hard decision for me to make because I was in a really good position. I loved working with the people I was working with, but I knew, like, I could feel it in my gut more than anything. Like, I just knew I was there, but I wasn't present. And I was thinking constantly on why I shouldn't be there or why am I here, which is instantly, I know that in my situation, I'm not going to bring the best performance for me. And I'm also not going to be pleasing people around me. So I'm just shitting on everyone. So I made the decision that I said I was going to leave. But that decision was difficult. It wasn't a good decision in the time. Like, in the moment, I remember feeling it. And I was like, I have to do this right now. And I went in and I told the guys. And at that moment, like, my whole world crumbled. Because I was like, this is terrifying. I'm walking away from a job. Like, bear in mind, I didn't go to college. I don't have any college degrees. And I could have been shooting myself in the foot. Now, I believed in myself and I knew that I was never going to fall down. I knew I wasn't going to fail effectively. I might fail on a small scale, but never over time. And time is the compounding factor and the exponential factor, which we've spoken about before. But what I'm trying to say is that was the scary thing for me to do. Now, I didn't go and quit multiple jobs after that, but that was the catalyst for change for me. I was like, I quit this job and I had no other choice than to work on my business. And at that point in time, I began to build a bit of momentum because one hard thing was done. Okay, now it's scratched off the list, so you feel like you've made an accomplishment. In the moment, it might necessarily feel like an accomplishment. As I said, in my case, it felt like I had just thrown my life down the loo. But looking back in hindsight, it was an accomplishment because it was the next step I needed to take in order to get to where I am right now and where I'm going to be in a couple of years. So sometimes the scary thing is the right thing to do. To know what the scary thing is, you have to be paying attention. And I don't mean paying attention to the news and paying attention to people outside. You have to be paying attention internally. And this is really difficult. This is just being present. I've just phrased it differently. But you have to be present to some degree. I don't think I'm a very present person. I spend a lot of my time thinking about what I need to be doing, what I should have done, what I could be doing. But I'm working on it and I'm trying to be more present. I find myself in these scenarios when I'm talking in this setting really present. I feel like my thoughts are coherent and I feel like I'm doing the thing that I should be doing, but it also feels scary. Again, talking about the posting situation that I'm currently in, that predicament, it's scary for me to post these videos. Like I'm still looking on the first episode and I'm scared to post it. And I'm posting it in 2 days, which is funny, hilarious. Not really funny, but funny for me because of the situation I've willingly put myself into. But you have to be paying attention because the only way you're going to know what you should do is if you listen to yourself. If you're in a job and every day you wake up in that job and you don't want to be there and you continue to be there, you're just not paying attention to yourself. That's as simple as it is. You're just lying to yourself firstly, but you're also just betraying any form of self-respect you have because you know you could be doing either better. You know you could find another job that might pay better, or maybe it will pay less, but you'll be more fulfilled in the work that you do. Or maybe it's a case that you know you should be going to the gym every day, but you're not going to the gym, or you're not doing the thing that you need to do and you're not doing it, is what I'm trying to get at. But the only way you'll know what you should do is by listening to yourself. And it might take a couple of whacks. You might have to try a couple of things and realize that that's not what I want to do, but that's okay. You have time, especially if you're young. You have so much time. Like if you're anywhere from really like 30 down, you have so much time to fuck around and try things out, even from 40 down. Like I'm sure there's rare cases when people start crazy big businesses or change their entire life. Well, they're not rare. People do it all the time. Midlife crises. Midlife crises, in my opinion, as a 23-year-old, when people don't listen to the thing that they want to do inside of their gut and inside of their brain for years upon years upon years, and they compound. And because we're so easily distracted, and our world is designed to distract us because people want us to work the jobs we don't want to work, because if we don't work them, who will? We want to be distracted from the moment we wake up in the morning. We're hit with emails, we're hit with news, newsletters. Everybody's fighting for your attention. And if you cannot carve away some time, you don't have to commit to being a monk and isolate yourself entirely. But if you cannot carve away some time for yourself to think about what you want to do and what makes you happy, you're never going to know what the right thing to do is. I hope that makes sense. In my mind, it makes sense. But again, the only way to figure out the right thing to do is to pay attention to yourself internally. What is your brain saying? What is your gut saying? Because your gut is your second brain, and that thing don't lie. From my perspective, maybe it does, because I've also been known to absolutely annihilate chocolate bars. And I know that my gut doesn't want them, but my brain does. So there you go. Maybe all the things that I'm saying are bullshit. We are in a war on attention. As I just said, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed, everybody wants a bit of your attention. And you've got to be selfish. You've got to carve away time, because TikTok is designed to encapsulate every bit of your active attention. They want you on that app 24 hours a day. And if you're doing it, you're a loser. Get off of it. It's not good for you. It can't be. How could 15 seconds of intense dopamine constantly be good for you? And if you don't think you're addicted to it, try put away your phone and not think about TikTok. It's the fact that it will come into your brain subconsciously. I'm lucky because I've set myself extreme time limits on my phone. I have an app called 1 Sec. I actually made a video about it like 2 years ago, and it completely stopped me using TikTok because it's honestly just such a pain in the ass to open the app. And Instagram too. I don't use Instagram at all anymore, which is insane considering my entire business model is reliant on these social media platforms. Well, maybe not reliant, but focused towards them. I just find that I get so overwhelmed when I'm on the platforms, especially now that I don't use them anymore. When I go back onto them, I'm like, holy shit, excuse me, I had a burp, it's fine. YouTube Shorts is the one for me. And I wanted to say that because I get that sense in my brain where I lie down at night and I'm like, before I go to bed, I'm like, oh, I'll just check YouTube Shorts as if that's going to help me with anything. It's insane. You know, I'll sometimes come home from work and I'll sit in the car and go on YouTube Shorts for like 30, 40 minutes. That's insane. That is actually crazy. When I say it out loud, that's embarrassing. But I've done that multiple times. We are in a war on attention, and the only way to win the war is to win the battle. I think there's some quote like that, but you have to focus on the small scale, reduce your screen time, reduce the information that you consume that is irrelevant to what you want to do in your life. Like, don't mindlessly scroll on TikTok hoping that you're going to find a motivational video. Don't go onto YouTube and search for the motivational content because it doesn't fucking work. You just have to realize that it's up to you to do the things that you want to do. We are in a war on attention, and figure out a way for you to encapsulate your attention. For me, it was a case of setting like extremely stringent time restrictions. I don't know if that's a correct statement or correct grammarly. I set loads of time limits. I got the 1 sec app. It slowed me down. It stopped me using these platforms as much as I was using them before. And slowly I was able to reduce my screen time. It's not about mitigating everything, because I think in order to create anything, you have to consume, on the contrary, because you have to find sources of inspiration. I just said motivation is bullshit, and maybe I'm going to go back on myself slightly, but I think you do need to find the occasional piece that's enough to motivate you or enough to spark some sense of feeling in your gut so you know that you should be doing the thing that you want to do. Like, it might be a video of some guy running his first marathon, or it might be a video of some guy getting a A in a test. I don't know if people make videos about that, but maybe it's enough that you need to just like spark it and just be like, shit, I need to be doing that thing. Fight for your attention. Think about the things that are worth thinking about, and don't think about the things that are trying to distract you. And everything's trying to distract you. So good luck, soldier. And again, on the topic of how to, pull back your attention. God, I've got my little monitor here and I look very overexposed. So sorry if you're watching this and I'm absolutely fried. Journaling for me is a great way to pull my attention back to what I'm thinking about, and writing as a whole. I've started writing every single day religiously. I have been for a while now, and it's massively, massively helped with me being able to like extract thoughts or extract ideas and make lists and actionable steps. I have my journal in front of me right now so I don't go off on a mad tangent. Believe it or not, if you are listening to this, this is actually a slightly structured conversation I'm trying to have with you. Well, it's not a conversation, it's a monologue, but I'm trying to have it with you nonetheless. So if anything is relevant to you, do leave a comment and let me know that I'm not losing my mind or my marbles. If you can succeed in small increments on this whole war of attention that we have going on, you'll be soon able to realize the things that you need to do. Whatever that thing may be, it'll start pressingly coming up when you're writing, when you're thinking, when you're walking, when you're ruminating. This thing will recurringly come back into your brain, and that's a true sign that you need to be doing something about it. Just going to quickly check the time. Okay, we have like 5 minutes, so I'm going to move quickly here. For me, the scary thing in my life right now is posting. I touched on it a couple of times throughout this episode, but posting these episodes to YouTube or posting them to SoundCloud or Spotify, wherever they're going to go, is really, really difficult for me, which is insane. As I said about the ice bath analogy this earlier on, it's not always the ice bath. It's sometimes stepping into the ice bath. It's sometimes the least energy costing. I don't know how to say that word or that sentence. God damn it, man. And I was doing pretty well. Sometimes it's the thing that costs the least amount of energy to do that is the hardest thing to do. I hope that makes sense, because it just about makes sense for me. And I thought of it and I said it. Sometimes it's posting the video. The hard part, in theory, of recording and making a podcast is thinking about the episodes, is recording the episodes, is editing the episodes. And posting is such a small part. Like, if you imagined it in a pie chart, posting would probably be like 5% of the entire chart. Yet for me, that 5% is taking up all of my effort and all of my consciousness when I'm thinking about making Off the Rip, which is crazy. And it's something I'm trying to wrap my head around. And I don't know, is it a fear of judgment or is it a search for perfection? Because I'm sitting on these 4 episodes right now and I'm unhappy with the first episode, which I think is a good thing. And the first episode of this podcast series is very rough and ready. I came in here and I forced myself to get into the camera because that at the time was the hard thing for me to do, and I knew I needed to do it. I forced myself to sit in front of the camera and I forced myself to get that episode out. It felt janky. I was nervous as hell, which is crazy because I'm in a room by myself in a comfortable space for me, yet I still felt nervous. But now I'm stuck on posting it. You know, there's like halfway through the episode, I remember just getting so overwhelmed with what I was doing. I just lost my train of thought. I started getting I started catastrophizing what I was doing. I was like, no, this is bad. And I was verbalizing it, which makes me really uncomfortable to watch back. Part of me wants to cut that out of the episode, and I'm still deliberating on whether or not I should. I do think I'm going to stick to my guns and post it because I think putting something so imperfect out allows me to show progress and allows me to look back and say, that's where I started on. And in 5 years, when we're still doing this and we're talking with cool people and talking with myself, and I'm much better at it, I'll be able to show people and show myself that I started here, and you can too. It's okay to not do a great job the first time. And it's okay to have people look at that and think, that's not good. That's what I'm trying to teach myself, and I'm forcing myself to do it because I know it's the right thing to do, but it's also the scariest. Posting the launch video the other day was scary. I was on the way home from a shoot in London, and I was in the airport, sat down with Safiq. I just had a little Elvis juice, and I was feeling juiced up, and I was just like, fuck it, I have to do it now. And I did it, and I felt great about it. I had such an amazing response. I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't even open the app, which again is ridiculous. Obviously, some inner battles that I have to figure out here, but I couldn't go onto Instagram. And I could just see like comments and stuff coming in, and people were being so fucking sound. So if you showed love on that, which by the time this episode comes out, it's probably a while ago, I appreciate you so much. I didn't get back to everybody about it because again, I get overwhelmed when I go on the app, and I think it's better for me to avoid it. But yeah, it didn't go unnoticed. It made me feel absolutely fantastic. And yeah, thank you, people. It's cool to get some love from people that you respect, you know? So that's what's going on with me right now. Hopefully things are going well with you, and hopefully you're focusing on trying to be a little bit better each and every day. I'm not here to give you motivational advice. This podcast is really just for me to vent and talk about some things that are in my mind and things I think I could be doing better, and hopefully you can relate in some way or shape, like a square, 4 edges. Cool. Yeah. That's really all I wanted to talk about. So I'm not going to waffle anymore, and I'm not going to waste any more of your precious time. Go back to watching your TikToks, or maybe you were reading a book. Perhaps you were just floating around your kitchen cooking some food. If you were doing that, I hope your dinner is absolutely delicious, because I'm hungry. It's 8 o'clock and I was shooting all day. I haven't had food yet, so I'm going to go and get some food now. But it was a pleasure as always being here. And yeah, thank you for listening to Off the Rip episode 4. And I will see you next week for episode 5. Peace, love, bye.